time now for our rants and raves. Going to start with you, Dan.
I have a rant for the New York Times, which this week made a couple of really large errors that called into question the premise of the stories that they were reporting in the first place. The more important of the two stories involved a government climate change report that the Times reported scientists with the government had supplied this report to them surreptitiously because they were afraid that the Trump administration was going to suppress it. As it turned out, the report had been publicly available for months for comment. It was even parked at the Internet Archive, which is a very well-known nonprofit site. When Eric Wemple of the Washington Post asked Elizabeth Buemiller of the Times, what about this? Her response was, well, none of us had ever heard of the Internet Archive. It was just absolutely a low moment.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
The other story was less important, but really, the Times ought to get its act together. And I don't think this has anything to do with fewer copy editors, although that's another issue.
All right, Dan.
Well, I have a rave for the Hollywood Reporter and correspondent Tatiana Siegel. She had this exclusive story this week about the Koch brothers and their influence in Hollywood and how they've poured millions into these slate investments where you can invest in a whole slate of films, and it's paying off because Wonder Woman was part of that. Billionaire Bill Gates was also part of this. I could go many different ways with sort of conservative and being part of the liberal Hollywood. But what was interesting about this piece is just providing this window into how it works and how this network of wealthy people get a chance to take these highly risky bets on films and how it can pay off. And I thought that it was a very interesting article, something I wasn't aware of, and I don't think a lot of people were aware of.
I didn't even know they were into that world.
I didn't either.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I just want to say Northeastern journalism alum Tatiana Siegel.
Wow. Well, there you go.
He's always getting a plug in.
I did not know that, so I'm glad I was able to set that up for you.
Josh.
My rave is for BuzzFeed, which did some of the more creative and interesting reporting that I've seen recently. They have been doing a number of stories identifying unusual flights by spy and surveillance planes around the United States and outside of our borders. And they were uncovering quite a bit of interesting material. A company that was primarily doing surveillance work for the federal government in Africa that was also flying over U.S. cities. This week they told everyone how they were doing this, and it's really remarkable. They were taking public flight data of the sort that anyone can download and feeding it into an artificial intelligence engine.
Really?
Thousands and thousands of flights, and asking over time, can you learn through machine learning AI bot which of these are spy planes? And they realized that spy planes move in fairly predictable turning radiuses and the sort, and they were able to find dozens and dozens of surveillance flights. There's a lot of talk about what artificial intelligence is going to bring to the news business and other industries.
Were they drones or actual?
Actual planes.
Yeah.
Some of them may have been drones as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but the AI has a lot of potential, but this was a really creative way to use it for really.
Did the government deny it?
The government has acknowledged a number of them.
Oh.
It's many levels of government. It's sheriff's departments. It's it's governors and things like that.
Yeah. Huh. That is good. All right, Adam.
I want to rave for BBC News presenter Simon McCoy, who recently went through something that many of us have been through in some way, shape, or form. It's a quiet time of the year. You're working on a story or you are presenting a story. Your heart's not really in it. He let the extent to which his heart wasn't in it show on camera. Let's take a look.
Just bear in mind it is August. This does not look like a walk in the park. Dog owners and their pets in California have hit the waves in the second annual World Dog Surfing Championships. Here are the pictures.
So that's what you heard him murmur at the end right there. Before going to the footage was, here are the pictures. And you can just hear how his soul has been crushed that he has to put this news out there.
Obviously, he had a big fight with the editor beforehand about doing that.
So he narrates the dog surfing championship.
I expected him to say more alleged news in a minute.
The winner is going to be crowned top dog, and then at the end he says, Oh, what a shame we've run out of pictures.
You know, as a way
just
to end a
wearing it on his
newscast,
sleeve. I
as
love
a
it.
way to end a newscast, I kind of like
Yeah, the
that.
water skiing squirrel.
Yeah,
You know, come on.
babies, anything, cute
Yeah.
babies, animals, always win at the end of the newscast.
I'm not anti-dog. I enjoyed his displeasure.
All right.
Yes.
Finally tonight, I have a rave for a former colleague of mine who died last week at the age of 73, Dick Albert, who's the meteorologist from Channel 5 for many decades. He actually started at Channel 5 just about 5 months before I did. We both missed the blizzard of 78. I got there in early 79. He got there a couple of months before I did. But he was a pleasure to work with. As everybody has heard and read, he was exactly the same on the air as he was off the air. And he was just the most delightful person to work with that really I ever have.